Hello, and welcome to this panel to be looking at communications, media, and events within the world of think tanks. I'm Magnus Summers, and I'm an events producer at the think tank the Institute for Government, and I'll be chairing this session. So I'm delighted to be joined by Sarah O'Donnell. Sarah is an events program manager at the Centre for Progressive Policy. Robin Harvey. Robin is Senior Digital and Media Officer at the Institute for Public Policy Research. And Becky Lupton. Becky is Marketing and Events Consultant at the Nuffield Trust. So we will start this session by hearing introductions from our speakers on themselves and their organisations. Each speaker will talk for a few minutes and questions will be taken once all the panellists have spoken. So if you wish to ask a question, you can do so by typing your name into the chat function. Or if you would like to say your question, you can do so by using the raise your hand function. And for this option, once I call out your name, our technicians will unmute you. And then you'll be able to speak to us. So now I'd like to hand over to our first speaker, Sarah O'Donnell. And over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Magnus, and hello, everyone. I'm Sarah, as Magnus said. I'm the events program manager at the Centre for Progressive Policy, also known as CPP, and we're an independent think tank, meaning we're not politically aligned. We focus on achieving an inclusive economy capable of reaching a fair transition to net zero through shared prosperity, through finding practical ways to create jobs for people and places, and by tackling regional inequality in the UK. CPP is almost 5 years old, I think that's right. And we were recently runner-up for Prospect Think Tank Awards. That was a good way to punctuate this first phase of our work. I've been in the organisation from the beginning, and we're a team of 9 and still growing. So keep your eyes on our career page because there's some new exciting opportunities advertised and more coming up. And we mostly produce impactful research and events, but also podcasts, videos, and other digital content such as data visualization. Through our Inclusive Growth Network, we work with 12 member places across the UK on developing and testing new approaches to what the government calls levelling up, its levelling up agenda. So we also run workshops with the IGN members and stakeholder events with our advisory and wider policy networks as well. So what does my job involve at CPP? Well, I mainly work on curating and producing our annual programme of events, including our Centre's Inclusive Growth Conference, which is a key fixture for us. This means I work with colleagues across the organisation, engaging with research and the work we do with places, to produce report launches for our research publications, but also other public events with the aim of generating through thought leadership on all matters linked to inclusive growth. So we try and bring people together from a wide range of sectors, including local and national policymakers, both in the UK and internationally, businesses, charities, and other think tank leaders, journalists, and also relevant voices, grassroots voices, for example, community leaders and civil society groups. Now, before the pandemic, we were running events mostly offline, but since COVID-19, we transitioned into online to hybrid events, meaning that we now host audiences mainly digitally, and when we do in-person events as well, there's still a way to follow our events digitally, and I know a lot of my colleagues today will be sharing the same challenges of that. So we do that via live streaming on our event our website that's powered by through our website powered by YouTube, and also on Facebook and Twitter. As well as these challenges of kind of transitioning into this new world, the pandemic actually brought a lot of kind of good things to the events world, I think, and we have to basically grow more digitally, and we have to think more about being digitally friendly when it comes to putting content out there, and engaging, and basically some aspects of my role have become more about public engagement. So the importance of translating what progressive policies actually mean in practice to a wider audience has never been more important. So what else could I say? Really no day is the same when it comes to producing events and digital content. A typical day will involve a wide range of activities, from keeping up to speed with relevant news articles, upcoming books being published, contacting speakers, preparing event content to go out on our website or mailing, social media, for example. And I really truly believe that technical skills such as video and audio editing, webcasting, are now needed more than ever in the sector. And to give you an idea of how I ended up working in the sector, the first think tank I worked for was Centre for London. I got that job after having worked in the culture department at London City Hall. I also worked for the RSA. I was a public events programmer there, and I run the RSA Thursday series, which were both live and streamed online already back then. And during my time there, I also commissioned the RSA Shorts digital series, working with young animators to bring to life snippets from previous talks. I've also been associate producer for the Battle of Ideas Festival, at Lincoln's Digital Culture Festival. So I just to say there's much scope for creatives out there to come and work in the think tank fields. And I think events like this today are really important to bridge the gap between think tanks and those who think working for one is not for them. So really great to be here today. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much for that. And now we'll go over to our second speaker, Robin Harvey. Robin.
Thanks, Magnus. I work for the Institute for Public Policy Research, which is a big think tank based in Westminster, but is unique among a lot of other think tanks in that we also have an office based in Manchester in the north of England, focusing on issues there, and we also have an office in Scotland as well. The think tank's been around for about 30 years, since the 1980s, and has been very influential since it was established, and has worked across a really massive range of primarily domestic politics areas. Currently, we've been focusing on environmental justice. Last year, we had a major commission, the Environmental Justice Commission, which was all focused on how we get towards net zero in a fair way that creates opportunity and is done in a fair way. We also have a major stream of work looking at economic justice, how we build growth for the future in a way that's inclusive for everyone and everyone can benefit, and the wealthiest in society shoulder larger tax burdens. And we also have a stream of work looking at migration, trade and communities, also looking at the state of the labour market, work, the welfare state, and we also have a new exciting project launching soon on health. The state of health is obviously a major issue after the coronavirus pandemic, and we're going to be looking at how health and economics can come together to benefit each other. Our Northern Office is very focused on the levelling up agenda, how devolution can boost local growth. And our Scotland office has done some really great work on tackling child poverty and other measures focused on the Scottish and devolved governments there. A little bit about my journey into this role as a media and digital officer at IVPR. at university, I was part of a student society organising events and promoting this. I was doing international relations at the time, and the society was all about promoting events around those issues. So I got a lot of experience whilst I was at university in thinking about communications and sort of promoting a society's work, and reaching different groups of people to attend events and socials and other talks by lecturers. And that really put me in a good place for when I applied for my first role in a think tank, which was at the Fabian Society, which is a Labour Party aligned think tank. And whilst there, I worked on their events programs, designing events for party conferences, at the big party conferences where all the big political leaders give their giant speeches. There's a myriad of events that go along around the outside of it, and it's a huge task to fill out a massive agenda of important topic areas to talk on there. But whilst I was in that role, I realized that I was also very interested in more of the sort of communication side, engaging more with the research that was happening and thinking about how I could help communicate that work more widely to other audiences and engaging with the ideas that the researchers are thinking about. So I slowly took on more communications responsibilities in that role, looking at social media. And in my free time, I had some of those creative skills that Sarah was talking about, did video editing and digital stuff that I'd just been doing in my free time when I was growing up, making short films with my friends. And that came in really handy for then bringing that to my role at the think tank and thinking, oh, we could make a video to help promote this research. And that really made me realize that it was kind of, I wanted to focus on using my digital skills and also some of those communication skills more widely, which then led me to apply for a role at the Institute for Public Policy Research, which was a role more focused in that area. So just quickly, a sort of a day in the life of a digital media officer at a think tank. We're really sort of engaging with the research that's being done and thinking about how we can bring that to the widest possible audience, distilling it down into a way that's digestible for multiple audiences, whether they be broadsheet newspapers to tabloids to people on social media looking at digital content. So we'll work with research teams to distill the ideas in their report, figure out what's the best news line, what's going to make a good headline, and we'll try and work that into a press release that's nice and punchy, tells the story really clearly, and is something that's going to play into existing news stories where there's a news hook or an interest that other people are interested in. So we'll do that to help get our research out, engage with journalists, talk to them, tell them why the story is important, why they should cover it. There's also a lot of reactive press work. If there's a big breaking story that we should be recovering, we should be responding to, getting our experts out there to give their opinion on it, being proactive, finding opportunities to get our ideas into the press in other ways. We also loved getting our experts onto the TV talking about their work, and so we do a lot of media training. Just last night, I was preparing one of our researchers to go and do a confrontational interview with Nigel Farage on GB News. So helping them prepare was really important for making sure they can tell our story and our ideas in a really convincing way. And then the digital side, I also manage our social media channels, think about what digital content can grab people's attention, what sort of short, snappy copy really works well when people are scrolling forever on their screens. And also thinking about how we present ourselves online digitally with the website as well. That's just a brief overview. As Sarah said, it's there's no one day is the same. I just ran through a massive myriad of things that I work on, and it's every single day with new challenges, new opportunities to learn new things and bring new skills to the fore.
Thanks a lot, Robin, and completely agree with you. Every day is different in the world of events and comms. So now we're going to go over to our final speaker, Becky Lupton.
Hi everyone, my name's Becky, and I work at Nuffield Trust, which is a health think tank, and I work in the marketing and events. So I'm a marketing and events manager. My role, has already been covered, is very varied, and every day is different. Sometimes it's reactive to what health stories are happening at the time, where other events, and comms is planned, whether it's a report launch, and so we've got the whole team working on that. Nuffield Trust is, we're based in London, near Oxford Circus. So at the moment I'm in the office, but like many of comms teams, we've been working remotely a lot over the pandemic. So that has brought new challenges, but it's also brought opportunities as well. Nuffield Trust, the team as a whole is around 50 people, but the comms team, there's 14 of us. So it's, I think, a small enough team that it's really nice to be able to work closely with research and policy, operations and comms, and the main departments within the Nuffield Trust. And, you know, it's a really, I think that close-knit team works really well, and it means that we can achieve goals together. My role is a mixture of marketing and events. So on the marketing side, it's looking at how we can get engagement, we can create debate around health, and it's all about, you know, using our website, our newsletter. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out to over around 9,000 people each week, and that highlights key news stories or points of health interest that reports that we're launching. We also have Twitter, is a key way that we engage with our audience. On the event side, we have two main events. We have the Nuffield Trust Summit, which is in its 14th year. We are all in full preparation for that. It's taking place next week. I'll pop a link in the chat so everyone can, and you're welcome to, I'll put that in there. You're welcome to join. It's a free event. All of our events are free. And the summit used to be an invite only, but given the, you know, as having to go virtual, it has meant that we can open it up to a wider audience. So, you know, feel free to register to that if you'd like to have a look more about this sort of events that we do. We also work with partners, which is really a great way for us to network. So we work closely with partners to do events and also for research projects, and it's a really good way to increase our reach and also engagement, and also to put our heads together to deliver those events for content. I think the pandemic has given us an opportunity to, Sarah and Robin have highlighted, to look at how we're doing things, and a lot of our content now, if it's an event, you know, it's also available on demand. So it means that we can reach a wider audience, and also not just UK, looking at international audiences as well. So with our summit, you know, it used to be an invite only, and so it was a select audience, where last year was the first year we did it as a virtual event, and it meant that we could, you know, people could tune in internationally or watch at a time that was most convenient for them. My background is I did a degree in marketing, and for around 20 years now I've worked in the marketing sector, but mainly health. But it is very creative, you know, within the health, and you know, I've worked in the charity sector, and now from a think tank, that, you know, it's still looking at whether it's through design or the comms, you know, how we can get maximum engagement. My advice would be, you know, if you ever want to, you know, find out more about health think tanks, you know, I've shared the link to our website, but you're welcome to reach out separately as well if you want to ask any questions, but obviously within this panel as well. But that's an overview from my role, but I'll welcome any questions.
Thanks very much. So we've got a few questions that have come through already. First one is from Joe Ratty. How common is it for think tanks to have roles related to recruitment and or sales? Sarah, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Well, I was just, sorry, I don't know if I used the wrong reaction button, but I was just giving a virtual clap to all of us here. But I can actually, what was the question again, Magnus?
Sorry, so it was, how common is it for think tanks to have roles related to recruitment and or sales, if at all?
Okay. Well, I would say, I mean, I can't think of directly roles that involve recruitment, as in HR recruitment, I guess is what you mean. For me, I guess it's about thinking about what the transferable skills as well that you can offer. I would say for recruitment, one thing that comes to mind is, for example, sometimes we commission part of our data work to external partners that can help us with, recruiting people that are working on, for example, that are basically to recruit our sample for some of the qualitative work that we do. And that does involve kind of, quite a lot of project management when it comes to, basically I wouldn't say outsourcing, but kind of coordinating those processes with external partners, or even doing that in-house, of course, would be an option. I think in terms of sales, definitely what's a huge skill if for anyone having worked in sales, and Becky might have some more thoughts on that in terms of the marketing side of things, but definitely from a relationship management point of view, there's a lot of that when working in any, I would say, external affairs role, but definitely in events and comms, it's part of our day-to-day to nurture relationships. So I would say all those transferable skills are really important, even if the job might not say recruitment and sales. Hopefully that helps.
Definitely agree. Becky, did you want to add anything on the marketing side for that?
Yeah, I've actually added a link. We have a role at the moment within Nuffield Trust, but yeah, I think that it's looking at what you want from the role, and I think for me, one of the great things about working at the trust is that it is a small enough team that you actually can work with, like, closely with other members of other people within the organization, and so I think that's really a real benefit. And we work really closely with research and policy, and one of the questions I think someone said about is how has the pandemic changed how we work. But I actually started at Nuffield Trust during the pandemic, so it was remotely, but I actually think it's made us realize that we actually can all work really well from remotely, as well as how nice it is when we are together in the office. But we've had people working internationally within the team whilst during the pandemic, but we can still work really, really well and just look at other ways to communicate. But then at the same time, it's great to be face to face with the team as well.
Great. And I think that follows on quite nicely to the question around, is it common for think tanks in and around London to hire foreign nationals, i.e. from the US, who graduate from UK universities? I suppose with the online aspect, that is a lot sort of easier these days. Would you say, Robin from IPPR, do you reach out further?
I think that think tanks would be silly to not consider all the talent coming from anywhere. And as you say, that there is so many more possibilities now for working remotely that expand that. I would caution, obviously, a lot of think tanks are quite small charitable organizations, so sometimes do lack the resources to manage something like that. But I think it's definitely something you should speak to HR people with if you're applying to make that clear. I'm pretty sure that there's some people that work at our organization that we've helped with that aspect, not necessarily from the United States, but think tanks are looking for the best people that can work in these roles, the people with the best ideas and who can work effectively. So I think, yeah, shouldn't rule anyone out.
Great, thanks very much. We've got another question. How old were you when you started working in a think tank? And how old is the youngest person in your team or think tank as a whole? I think I was around 30. I can't really remember, but what sort of age what sort of experience generally do you think you need to actually enter a think tank? Would you say it's best in the comms side to start out after university, or would you recommend getting some sort of internship before entering the world of comms and think tanks? Sarah, maybe.
I mean, I guess a lot of smaller think tanks that are kind of in, you know, sort of startup phase will tend to have quite young people working in the team. I think the youngest one in our team, well, we run internships and also are sort of keen to kind of link up people that are only, you know, starting in their career with what we do. So I think our youngest might be in their kind of very early 20s. But that to say, I think there is something to say as well about diversity in you know, when it comes to age. And I think it's healthy that there's kind of people of all ages, but that's not to say that I don't think anyone young should be put off, you know, to apply for a job at a think tank. I think as think tanks, we probably need to do more to sort of, you know, kind of work with people from all age spectrums, as well as genders and class backgrounds and all of that. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Great, thanks.
I can't even, I'm 38 now. So I think I was, I think, yeah, I would also say I was 29 or 30 as well, like you, Magnus, when I had my first think tank job.
Yeah, it's hard to remember sometimes, isn't it? We just had one very quick final question on whether it's possible for an international student to work in a think tank. Becky, do you have any knowledge of that?
Well, I guess it depends on the think tank. And well, at the moment we are, you know, we've changed the amount that people like flexibly are working within the office, but you know, there is a, you know, I don't know if if that international student would be planning to come to work in the UK, but that would probably be something more for our HR manager who's on this call, who is answering some of those questions. But I think, you know, when you're talking about age or if it's international, it's all just about skill set. And even if you're at the very early stages of your career, you know, the key skill set of you know, the interest in the area of work, the desire to work in comms and marketing, and there's a lot of, you know, a wide range of experience across the team, and it's definitely a case of, you know, training and support from other team members to develop people within the team to be able to go in a direction that they feel most passionate about, or interested in. So I think that if you do start at the, you know, as a trainee level, then it's a good opportunity to, if you went into a role that was more as like a marketing assistant or an events assistant, it gives you a broader experience of different elements of that role, and then to see what area interests you most.
Brilliant. We're going to actually have to wrap up now. Half an hour goes very quickly, but thanks everyone, Robin, Sarah, and Becky, for joining us and for everyone's great questions. Our next pair of panels start at 5:20, and the first one is on policy work and opportunities outside of London. The second one is on a day in the life of a researcher. So thanks everyone, and hope you can join the next sessions at 5:20. Thanks very much.